Life as We Know It with Tom Walton.
You have to give a lot of credit to Nike, the company that sells grossly overpriced sneakers to the gullible multitudes, some of whom would forego paying the rent just to wear the same model shoe as LeBron James. Nike took a calculated risk and hired professional football player Colin Kaepernick to hawk its products in a television commercial. This is the guy, you'll recall, who led the way when professional athletes began kneeling during the national anthem at their sporting events. The reaction was swift and predictable. Folks who took exception to Mr. Kaepernick's right to express himself through his constitutionally protected freedom of speech began burning their Nikes in protest. I can relate, up to a point. I, too, burned my Nikes, just not for the same reason. Mine were worn out and smelled really bad. I occasionally dropped to one knee when I wore them, but only because the stench was overpowering. These things would have dissolved reinforced concrete. My feet announced my approach 10 minutes before I got where I was going. But I will never drop to one knee during the playing of the Star-Spangled Banner. Given all the sporting events I've attended over my 7 decades, I've stood for the anthem thousands of times, and never once did I feel the need to show disrespect, even when I was unhappy with the federal government, which is pretty much all the time for me. We always keep in mind, however, that the Founding Fathers gave us every right to do foolish and ill-advised things. I'd like to punch Colin Kaepernick right in the nose, but I don't, because not only would that be foolish and ill-advised, he is a big dude, my freedom of expression stops just short of popping him in the kisser. As Evelyn Beatrice Hall famously wrote of Voltaire in her book The Friends of Voltaire, I disapprove of what you have to say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. I'm not prepared to go that far on behalf of a journeyman football player, but you get the point. What lifts Mr. Kaepernick's act of protest out of the ordinary is the platform he's afforded as a professional athlete on a big stage. If Colin Kaepernick were a fourth stringer at Twin Forks School of Mortuary Science, nobody would take note of the guy on one knee down at the end of the bench. But the National Football League is the most influential professional sports league in the country. For millions of Americans, getting dressed for church on Sunday means pulling on their NFL team jersey and hunkering down for 7 hours of watching large men strap buckets to their heads and knock each other down. For the NFL, there are standards to be upheld, rules to abide by, and decorum to be respected. When one of the participants makes a scene, everyone notices. It's unlikely that Nike, when it gave Mr. Kaepernick national TV commercial airtime, was making a bold statement on behalf of free speech. Nike was making a bold statement on behalf of Nike, hoping its marketing ploy would generate sales, and not surprisingly, it already has. What the Kaepernick commercial should be telling us is that he and his detractors have more in common than they realize. Both sides saw what they perceived as an injustice or an affront and publicly expressed their unhappiness about it. Good for him and good for them. And good for the framers of the Bill of Rights, who made sure the very First Amendment gave us the right to get mad at each other and at our government, and nobody can make us shut up.
Life as We Know It is written and hosted by Tom Walton and is a production of WGTE Public Media. Life as We Know It with Tom Walton can be heard on WGTE FM 91 every Monday afternoon during All Things Considered at 5:44 p.m. or hear past episodes at wgte.org/life.